Hello everyone. Thanks so much for being here tonight. As they said, I'm Isabel, and I'm last year's recipient. I'm here to share a little bit about what the scuba journey meant to me. And for that story, we're gonna have to go back to the early 2000s. So my mom Florida is like the coolest person that I know. When I was little, I wanted to be like her when I grew up. She was a scuba diver that dived around the world. So whenever we would go to her house, I would always ask her to play all the videos of all her trips. So like lions, shipwrecks, coral reefs, and I was always really amazed by all of that. So I would always tell her that I wanted to be like her when I grew up, and I wanted to go scuba diving, and she would say, when you're older, we're going to go together. So I've always been connected to the water. When I was a little kid, I terrified my parents by jumping in the pool before knowing how to swim. I don't know, I was 2 years old, and there was just something in me that felt that I needed to be in the water. So they quickly put me in swimming lessons, and it was something that I did throughout my life. So I was born with a medical condition that affects my nerves from my elbow to my hands and my knee to my feet. And for most of my life, I lived a pretty normal life. And when I was 20 years old, I grew up in Mexico, and I decided I wanted to go to college in the US. So I moved to Florida, where I got my bachelor's degree in environmental engineering with a focus on water, because I always liked water, and it made sense that I would build my career around that. So I was there in Florida, and during my sophomore year, I underwent a lot of difficult medical issues. I like to say that my nerves got lost in translation from Spanish to English. And during that time, I eventually lost the ability to walk. So it was a difficult period in my life. I had to relearn a lot of things, but during that time, I found a lot of healing by the water and in the ocean. There was just something very special about floating, and I really enjoyed just being by the water. Living in Florida, I had a lot of friends that were scuba divers, and I would see people go scuba diving, and it was something that I really wanted to do, but at the time, my body was not in a place where it felt ready, so I just kind of put it in the back as something that I would do later on. So 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to move to Dallas for a job. And when I first moved to Dallas, I met my friend Trevor. He was one of the first people I met, and he kind of helped me find my place in Dallas. And we started swimming together in the pool at first, and then did a little bit of open water swimming in the lake during the summer. So we ended up just bonding over being in the water and liking adventure, and we became really good friends. So I was in Texas, but I still miss the ocean, and I thought about it pretty often. Then, as time went by, at the beginning of 2023, me and some friends got together, and we put vision boards. So when I was doing my vision board, I found a picture of a scuba diver, and I thought, this is a little far-fetched because I'm not close to the ocean, but I'm still going to put it there. And I forgot about it. So a few months went by, and I attended the Abilities Expo. And while I was going through the hallways, I had a million people wanting to sell me a wheelchair that goes to the moon and back, and I was feeling very overwhelmed. I saw the guide pirate suit, and I was really excited because I had forgotten about this, and I didn't know that this existed and it was a thing. So I quickly went there, and I talked to Helen, who was very nice and very patient and told me about everything. And I was really excited that I was ready to just go scuba dive right there, outside of the convention center. So I filled out my application, and I waited a couple of months. Then eventually I heard back that I had been selected, and I was really excited. And they told me that I could bring a buddy. So obviously I thought about Trevor because there wasn't any other person that would have been better to do that with. And he said he would think about it, but thankfully he agreed. And we ended up doing that. So shortly after, the training began, and that's when we met Jordan, our Scuba instructor. We first met at the store, the Scuba store, where we got to pick our gear, and that was a very exciting time because it was kind of like shopping, but I don't know, I like shopping, so it was fun. So we got to pick our masks and our things and all that stuff, and we were ready to go to the pool. And we showed up and we did our first session, and then we had to tread water for 10 minutes. And those were the longest 10 minutes of my life. Even though I was comfortable in the water, there was something about diving that just felt a little more technical. And I wasn't sure like if I was going to enjoy it or not, but I still had to show up for my 5-year-old self that really wanted to do it when I was a little kid. And I pushed through and I showed up to the second session. We went to, Bjorn was great, he was very instrumental, he was very patient, walked us through every single thing that we needed to do, and even though we were laughing every 5 minutes after doing an exercise because we were making a mess. And then eventually we were ready to go to our final step, which was the open water swimming before getting certified. So we got ready, and we went to a lake, which did not have the best visibility, and I didn't have a wetsuit yet, so it was a little big. It was not glamorous, but we did everything right, and we finally got certified. So that was very exciting. And the most important thing is that we felt ready, and Bjorn taught us everything, especially the most important rule about scuba diving, which is do not embarrass your instructor. So all that was left was labeling our gear, packing our bags, and getting on the plane. So we took our flight to Grand Cayman, and when we got to the airport, we started meeting a lot of people that were wearing the same shirts. And it was really exciting. It kind of gave us a sense of community, and it was like finding other people that were coming on the trip. And we all gathered together and got on a smaller plane to go to the Cayman ride. That plane ride was a lot of fun. It was a little plane full of pirates just telling stories about diving and their adventures around the world. And I remember looking out the window and seeing the small island and the vast ocean around it and thinking like, okay, well, I'm about to do this, and that's exciting. So then, it was the first time for the first real dive. And as soon as we got on the boat, all my excitement stayed on the shore. I was terrified. The waves were huge, the ocean was dark, and I started feeling a little seasick. So I briefly considered retiring from scuba diving and living in the pool. But I sat in full gear on the edge of the boat and I jumped, even though I was terrified. I remember getting in the water and just seeing the bottom of the ocean, and it was amazing. I had never seen anything like that, and our whole group was there to make sure that everything was fine, and then we started descending. It was a very exciting feeling. I had never been that deep in the ocean, and I started looking around and I looked up and thinking like, wow, this is what I'm doing. It was really exciting.
Thank you.
So then the first dive was a little difficult. I was paying a lot of attention to my breathing and the things that I was doing. And it was a combination of excitement and panic at the same time. We were down there for an hour that felt like 3 months. But I did it. I came back up and I was proud of myself. I was very happy that I did it. It was more mentally challenging than physically. I did it. And then as the week went by, the dives just became easier and more comfortable. And then we had our favorite dive of the trip, and that was the wreck. We went to the Captain Tibbetts wreck, which was a big boat, and we swam around it. We went through like the chains and all of that, and I felt like I was in a National Geographic documentary, which was very exciting. It was definitely a dream come true, and that was a moment that I realized that I was fulfilling one of my life's biggest dreams. The diving just felt magical in general. Very often in life, all the activities that I want to do have to be modified. They can be done, but there always has to be some sort of changes, and that I don't always get the full experience for a lot of things. Well, with diving, that didn't feel like that. On land, I need my wheelchair to get around. Underwater, there's no stairs, there's no bumps, there's no uneven terrain, and no one's going to tell me the elevator doesn't work and they don't know what they're doing. And it was really exciting to float freely and feel like I was part of the crew. I didn't do anything different to be able to enjoy as everyone else around me. And that feeling is hard to explain, but it was very powerful. So when you live with a chronic illness, there's a little bit of grief. You think about the things that you used to do that you can no longer do, and you see yourself losing certain abilities. But I feel like being in the ocean really made me shift my perspective on that. As a lot of you probably know, there's more ocean in the world than there is Earth. And I just have this thought that there are more places on this planet where I can be free than places that not. And that really shifted my perspective for a lot of things. So on the last day of the trip, our captain gave us the opportunity to choose where we wanted to go back, and obviously we picked the wreck. That was our first dive. And that dive felt completely different from the first one. The hours went by super quickly, and when they signaled that it was time to go up, I didn't know what to do. I was very happy, and I remember we were ascending, and all I could think about was, when is the next time that I'm going to be able to do this? In the Cayman Islands, I learned that my mind is stronger than my fear. I learned that I can do hard things, even if they scare me. And I learned that teamwork is everything. None of this would have been possible without everyone in Dive Pirates and the amazing crew that we had on our boats. I also learned that there's two types of divers, and that is the ones that pee on the wetsuit and the ones that lie on This experience was a dream come true, and being able to share it with one of my closest friends is very meaningful. I found freedom in the water, but I also found belonging in this community. Pirates are known for chasing adventure and dominating the ocean, many times without arms or legs. So that's pretty cool. And I'm very proud to call myself a pirate. So a few months after scuba diving, I went on another adventure, and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And while I was at the top of the summit, I thought about the fact that not long before, I was in the bottom of the ocean, and I felt very lucky that I've been able to see the entirety of the world from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the world because of people that care about accessibility and that do things to make everything possible. Because there's always a way. You just gotta find how to do it. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you for everyone here that has made it possible for me and for everyone that is to come to experience this and see a lot of the world. So to everyone who donates, volunteers their time, and supports this organization, thank you so much. Because it is because of you that I was able to fulfill one of my life's long dreams. And thank you for creating spaces where people are defined by experience and adventure and not by limitation. So thank you, Susan, Helen, and Greg, and everyone behind the scenes, making sure that all of this is done. And my scuba journey is not over. Me and Trevor are going to join you for the full year trip this year. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for supporting the Dive Pirates, and thank you for helping people like me experience the ocean, not from the shore, but be able to descend into it. And Lauren, I hope we didn't embarrass you too much.